And welcome to the late night edition of Outside the Box Radio. You could say right here on YouTube. Still doing some tests. I've been doing some tests basically for days now regarding streaming ability, the ability to stream without any major interruptions. And it seems that things are somewhat okay with regards to audio only. So maybe in data restriction mode, but the show will continue. And so there's different views and takes on what is going on, whether it's weather weapons or whether it's nature or whether it's the wrath of God or whether it's climate change. But we're seeing all these events. In the comment section, if you are going to join, feel free to share with us your evacuation plan or how you psychologically deal with all of this. But this is definitely a nation now that is overwhelmed with disasters. Hurricane Harvey is obviously going to cost a lot of money, $180 billion. Donald Trump was down in the Houston area, hugging some of the victims and being on site, of course, a few days late. And I would say it was quite the photo op. The question is, what is really going on here with this massive displacement and mandatory evacuations? Not hearing stories about gun disarmament, but certainly um, people being forcefully evacuated and the government kicking in doors. And so the situation is lingering as we're seeing the fires in Oregon. Now, somebody on social media made the point about the path of the eclipse and many states seeing fires in the path of the eclipse. So we're seeing major fires in Oregon. And if you go to OregonLive.com, you can see the updates. You can see the gallery. There's so many different images that you should check out on your own. This is going to be a fairly simple audio stream, but we saw a massive geomagnetic storms also after the eclipse. And there's several other eclipses of interest coming up in our future. For example, we have another total solar eclipse in the year 2024. And that's going to be approaching solar maximum, this period in which we're likely to see a lot of these geopolitical tensions come up to a major climax to the point where we could see war within our own borders of the United States. And this is something that a lot of people have been denying for years. There are people that were actually talking about something completely different last year, and now they're very confused as to what the president of the United States that many of them voted in, they're confused about what he's doing, whether he's in charge or whether it's the deep state. We're a country now very confused about reality and how things actually work, how things actually function. There really is an independent political position, and it's not being represented in the mainstream media. So as we see these uh, civil unrest scenarios unfold, and as I watched that video from Charlottesville, it was like watching a group of possessed entities in human form as they walked with their torches and they surrounded the protesters, preventing them from escaping. This is getting out of hand. People can refrain from the ongoing civil unrest if they want to, and it's very dangerous now to get involved in fisticuffs back and forth. Always something that I avoided. But is there really an accident? Is this really random? The fighting, the earth changes, the hurricanes, the war drums that are beating faster and faster, harder and harder, and then the behavior online in all different directions in which this medium that we have is a powerful medium. But as we see these changes come, and I would even say periods in which people in mass act like they're suffering from a mass hypnosis or psychosis. And that's what I'm feeling from a lot of people on the earth right now, mass psychosis. And so it's something to definitely take into consideration. I'm even considering deactivating my main Facebook page and just posting on my alexansary.tv page. I'll go ahead and check out the comment section here in just a moment and take a look at whatever comments may be coming in. I may have to reload here. But again, we've been doing a number of tests throughout the afternoon, throughout the evening, at least myself specifically. No staff or crew, one man show, and doing it off the grid with solar power. Went out earlier to town and got some gas for the generator, and it looks like the chat system may be functioning. It seems that we are up and running. So when I look at the map of the future eclipse of 2024, and we know where we could be geopolitically at that point, we're looking at the path of the 2024 eclipse. I will get you an image of that in the future, but you can also open new tab and find that as we're discussing it. So you have the path of the eclipse for 2017, and then 7 years from now, we have another eclipse in 2024, which seems to come from the East Coast down the middle of the country, maybe around the Madrid fault. There's been a lot of concern about a major earthquake splitting the nation in half and other events like that. In Oregon, they're overdue for the next major earthquake, and this has been news for over a decade, a 9.0. And that's something so powerful. The bridges, for example, in Portland, that infrastructure is set to crumble. And there are other major cities that are in a state of decay. The other thing that I recall hearing from one news report is that the overbuilding in Houston and the paving in the wetlands has actually prevented the water from naturally going back into the earth or having a place to go, as Houston has seen a major population boom. And there are many people that evacuated from Hurricane Katrina in 2005 to Houston, Texas. And so there are people out there that are set to be displaced again. So let's go back down to this evacuation conversation. I noticed a few days ago people were making a political thing about it with the mayor of Houston not giving an evacuation order. There was concern apparently because of a previous hurricane. People died in the evacuation. It's America's sixth largest city. It's a complicated situation to have that many people fleeing at once. I will also say that I looked up videos regarding looting and things of that nature and compared to other disasters like Hurricane Katrina. I kept seeing the same looting footage. So there may be widespread looting, and without a doubt there is with regards to footage of that looting. I've seen the same clip over and over. Joe Rogan said that the disaster response on the part of the people rekindled his faith in humanity. And what I would say is, in a disaster, people are going to come together. I'd like us to come together in the ongoing economic disaster and what could soon be a geopolitical disaster. And for people to think outside the box of going to the FEMA facility. Okay, and I'm not calling these FEMA camps, but is this programming? Is this more programming for the government to be there to give the mandatory evacuation and for people to be conditioned to go in the camps with limited supplies and to be unarmed? Then we see that we see the imagery with Donald Trump, the baby kissing, literal baby kissing, and things of that nature. So, with regards to North Korea dropping the H bomb, the other question is this technology, if in fact they developed it, going to get into the hands of Iran? And Donald Trump said weeks ago that he would respond to the actions in North Korea with fire and fury. Fire and fury. Now, it's not that I want Donald Trump to act, it's that Donald Trump is playing a verbal tough guy. Yes, he struck Afghanistan and there's more civilians dead there. Yes, he struck Yemen. Yes, he struck Syria. With regards to North Korea, he's made threats, but he hasn't backed up those threats. Now, there's something to be said about the danger of that particular smack talking without backing it up, in the world getting ready, in the world preparing. China, Russia, Iran, and all of these things are being lined up. Going back here, yes, we have this is a picture, by the way, of Burning Man that you're seeing on the screen, some random images. A man ran into the fire. Whether he was attempting to kill himself or whether it was an accident, I read somewhere that it's believed by some of the people that go to Burning Man that by running into the fire that they rejuvenate themselves or renew themselves. But I think that we can chalk that up to risky, wild behavior during the eclipse. Another point that I made regarding people throwing their anger at others, I noticed trends with regards to full moons and things of that nature. It's not one consistent pattern with regards to incidents where people are losing their you know what and they're attacking innocent people for sport. The last particular year, if you will, we've seen an increase in this. And it just now came to me, the effect of the eclipse, and even somebody made this comment in the chat. The feeling or the effect of the eclipse lasts for months, not just days or weeks, but for months. So really a window of 6 months before and 6 months after, with the period around the full moons being very, very heavy. And we're actually dealing with a full moon right now. We have a comment here regarding Burning Man as a corporate hippie Renfest. And my response to that is, and just hold one moment. I've never actually went to Burning Man, but I've always been kind of disappointed by a lot of the festivals, and it would be. I've said this for years. It would be nice if more like minds got together, and not so much in social media groups. But that's another conversation. But these periods aren't just about disasters. These periods are also about awakenings. And so the eclipses are also well known for bringing great change to our life, which I've talked about probably several hours worth combined as we kind of led into the eclipse. And I could remember the feelings and sensations emotionally, feelings in the heart, certain emotions coming up in especially the day or two prior to the eclipse and a day or two after. A strong sense of loneliness, a strong sense of a lot of emotions, maybe stuck emotions coming up to the surface. And then upon doing some reading, came to find out that that's actually entirely normal. That's not abnormal, that's normal. And so I think I even recall someone discussing the energetic field around the body and a lot of the pain, right, that we hold in that field. It's a period for renewal. And that's something that I can sense. And so when I look at my own life and the transition from a job that I had for 2.5 years to what I'm doing now, focusing on what I do, not full time in terms of 40 hours a week, but certainly giving it more time and more attention. And something as simple as the eclipse, for example, it just so happened to be a period that marked my uh, curious George nature, if you will, to finally open up open broadcasting, open source broadcasting, I believe, or OBS Studio 20.1 to start streaming this to you live instead of doing pre recorded videos and then waiting a day. So I can see, like in my own production where I'm at now, I'm going to be bringing reports to you in live time. And so we are in I'm in a situation where it's off the grid. So I'm not able to stream to you in HD. To upgrade to something that's going to allow me to stream in HD, we're talking hundreds of dollars. So I'm going to make the best of a complicated situation. And for the most part, I've gotten pretty decent feedback that the stream hasn't broken, that we haven't got into buffer mode. And previously during the test, some people may have been irritated when I was playing some video with an echo. But you see, the issue is I'm going to have to work out some of those technical difficulties. And the echo that was playing in an earlier video, that was just a setting, nothing to do with the stream. But if you were able to hear the video without break, then that's good because there's a lot of information that I can bring to you. And I will also continue bringing you HD videos on the on-demand channel if you care to support my work. We have to continue to guard against the disinformation, though, that keeps coming at us in different directions. Now, I don't know if apparently there's an asteroid within proximity to the Earth. Maybe somebody can let us know the facts because when I'm doing a show, because I want to prevent buffering issues, I'm not going to be surfing the web during the show. So I'm going to be focusing on just what I'm saying and not getting distracted. And every now and then, maybe sharing some commentary from the comment section. But there is some talk about an asteroid coming up in a few weeks. And I just want to remind people this period that we're in, September, October, and it really seems to come in every 2 years. I noticed it first around the fall of 2013, a flood of fake news and predictions that seem to be viral on social media, predicting one type of disaster or another. And oftentimes the dates are the same. For example, this year, September 23rd. And I think it's really important as people have natural, normal anxiety about these issues, that they work to exercise their intuition a little bit and pick up on the patterns when these things are coming around every few years. Now, every fall, but it seems 2015, 2013, 2015, and this year 2017, all periods with a high concentration of disinformation. And so, without a doubt, we are on the other edge of the knife of spiritual warfare that is tearing at our hearts and working to create nightmares within our psyches. And I've mentioned even before, yeah, it's good to be aware of the hate crimes that are taking place within our country, but it can also create a lot of unnecessary fear within the population. I've noted many times you're seeing most of the violence from Antifa. With Charlottesville, we obviously saw more violence on the other side, the openly white supremacist side. On the troll end of things, we see a much more vocal, demonically possessed and inspired white supremacist psychology. Fight, 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 insult, insult, insult. Do anything to take away from the actual conversation. As I said before, how do we know that these trolls are actually located physically in the United States? What evidence do we have? What evidence physically do we have that they are Americans? So all of this civil unrest is really building, and they use the internet. Sure, there are bots, but somehow, some way, there are many, many people out there that, um, as a way of life, attack other people. Ultimately, they are unconsciously affected by these major changes. And there are people out there that have ultimately done a disservice to those that have sought to awaken spiritually by saying that it's negative to look in certain directions, that they're out of touch with ascension or enlightenment. That's not what reality is all about. That reality is being unaware and holding on to fairy tale psychology and belief systems. And the fairy tale psychology and belief systems, it does not serve us. There is a culling taking place, okay, within this planet. And it is not just one group. It is not just the people in the Middle East, but they right now are the focal point. Now, there's concerns about an attempt to depopulate the United States in the future. And those concerns are warranted. And we're seeing very dangerous warning signs. However, there's a time now to be concerned about a real genocide that is taking place and to see beyond color, beyond white, beyond black. And when people are really pink and brown, how much sense does it make to see things in terms of white or black? Who's really white, white? Who's really literally black? Who's really literally a red man? All of this race baiting hysteria is of the devil. So we're seeing these Satanists come around us that are speaking with the devil's tongue. These are souls that are trapped in hell. And their goal is to keep others trapped in hell or to feel like they're in hell. And that's something to be said about the types of souls that we live here with. There are angels and demons, and they are living side by side here on the earth. And so also in this ramp up to the eclipse, as I've seen also similar patterns in previous years, a separation between the extreme darkness and people that are on the spiritual side. So there really is a separation. It's not really about Antifa versus the Trump supporters. It's about what's right versus what's wrong. You see, but some people don't understand that. They don't have that type of understanding spiritually. They only understand politics. They only understand combat. Some people only understand the sports mindset. So they see their teams that are available. In one corner, we have 300 thugs from Antifa. In the next corner, we have another group over here. And we have their helmets, we have sticks, they're ready to go. It's shoot fighter at the park with weapons, but we're not seeing the swords coming out yet. Fortunately, we haven't seen this behavior 4 years ago. We haven't seen this behavior 8 years ago. We haven't seen the internet because the internet is a double-edged sword. So there are people right now that are possessed by entities that are listening to this podcast or may listen to it later that are only taking in content that they can kind of fight against or kind of use or find people that they can abuse because of their parasitic state of mind. But it's not just people on the internet. It's some of the people in society. It's all part of the same reflection. So who are these unconscious humans working on behalf of when they seek to cause destruction, mayhem, pain, you know, domestic terrorism, things of this nature? So the energies are seeming to reach a climax. Collecting my thoughts here as we wrap up this video, and I may be back with another video. Meditation is really important, and a lot of people have been taught to fear it. Okay. Do you fear your own breath? Do you have a religion that says that you have to hold your breath, otherwise you're serving the dark side? So a lot of people have been, especially with the internet addiction, they've fallen very much out of touch with their own consciousness. And some people have latched into religious ideas. And a lot of people don't know that New Agers don't typically talk about the archons. They are now because it's become a common topic. Myself and others, various authors, we've brought the topic of the archons, of deceivers, even within the spiritual communities. People that have masqueraded as archangels, but they're actually demons. It's just another term. But see, religious folks come around and they hear terms they're obsessed with. And they obsess with the idea that things being stated a certain way. And they don't even realize that they have the spirit of the argument. Bringing the spirit of argument, let's argue. Let's totally take this away from consciousness. So there's a part of us that argues and is very responsive to some of these energy changes, the fighting energies. And it's important for us to take a breath, another breath, and then a deeper breath, connect to the earth, connect with the energies above, to have superstitions and fears of the cosmic forces that surround us and our own inner power is ridiculous, but it's what surrounds us. We're in a world of nihilism where people tell us that our spirits don't matter, that we're just biological entities that crawled out of some tadpole, that there is no spirit up above watching us all, and that is hogwash. Or being inundated with the satanic energy of the race war. We're being inundated with Satanists without even realizing that they've become Satanists because it's not about worshiping the devil. It's upon taking that character, that energy, that spirit of the deceiver, literally worshiping those that represent the destroyer of worlds. The destroyer of worlds. And that is Donald Trump. That is the system that Barack Obama served as well. Okay, but Donald Trump is taking this to the next level, but they're all a part of this antichrist system. So people are looking in the wrong directions when they're trying to interpret the eclipse. Some people are even speculating if Donald Trump would be assassinated and things of that nature. The greater reality is there was a sense of a transition into the dark side, the sense of things getting worse before they get better. And it doesn't mean that the light doesn't exist or that good people don't exist. But we are in a extended period of society in metamorphosis, which hasn't even reached its bottom yet. It has shown its teeth. Men and women on social media calling for their political enemies to be raped and deported and thrown in jail. These are demons that are speaking through human bodies. These are fallen souls that are stuck in hell. And they feed on those with the light. They obsess on channels in which the truth is presented because their goal is to shut down the message. Let's start using the cough button. Hopefully that worked. And also, as we're seeing this, we're seeing some people get caught up into what I consider to be deceptions. And some of the deceptions that we're seeing, go into Bitcoin, put all your focus into cryptocurrency, another aspect of the grid. And then we see religious zeal from some individuals that will get angry if people don't get on board what they think is the thing that will change the world as we know it. But it's still more dependency on the same system, on the same digital global financial system. We see the popularity of Bitcoin in China. And by the way, there was a recent meeting regarding the BRICS, and they're talking about developing their own cryptocurrency. Apparently, the CCP isn't so much down with Bitcoin, but they have a plan for cryptocurrency to be a part of their new reality. Just because something is different than the dollar, just because something is different than the United States, just because something is different than our system and the way things have been, doesn't mean that it's really going to be something sustainable that's going to serve us in the end. I've seen too many cases of people putting their faith either in the stock market or one particular thing, or you've seen Facebook and YouTube, which itself has been a bubble, and we've seen these social media giants literally backstab the people that helped build those platforms. So I'm fairly skeptical with regards to what a lot of people think is going to reset things economically. And I think that people have forgotten about the power of meditation and love and community. People have definitely forgotten the concept of working together. And what I've also done is reach out to various people over the years and have them on the show. And I can also see how these major energy changes have separated many of us in the so-called independent media. And there's many people now aware of this, that blog about this and talk about this, how there's so much disinformation. in the alternative media. And it's really why I've separated from even identifying with alternative media and have coined terms like um, free media and things of that nature. So that is my thought for the moment. And I may come back later with some fresh thoughts and perhaps some updates on some other things that are taking place. But if you've been feeling the emotions, if you've been seeing the chaos in the world, if you've been noticing the news taking place, there's definitely something that ties